Welcome to this noon hour of the absolute truth. Happening right now, President Trump is in the Oval Office with a bilateral meeting with the leader of Bahrain, where he's answering questions about the future of the Fed and possible replacements for Jerome Powell. Let's take a listen in.
Crypto, etc., and other things. And all of the votes are going with us, every single vote. But during the conversation, when we were talking about it, I asked, what would you do about that? They all said would fire him.
Mr. President,
Yeah, please.
Thank you for taking my question, sir. You were in Pennsylvania yesterday. You unveiled $92 billion worth of investments. One of those jumped out to $15 billion in Homer City to build the largest natural gas power plant ever. I was at the rally where you told Homer City residents that you would not forget them when the biggest coal plant in Pennsylvania closed down. Delivered for them yesterday. What message do you have for those residents?
Well, I'm happy. Homer City, I was there, and I said, I'm going to produce something, I don't know what, because they had shut down this massive coal plant, one of the biggest in the country. And it was just purchased by the gentleman that you met yesterday, a very substantial man. I don't know if he's maybe not as substantial as you, I'm not sure. But he's pretty substantial. You know who I'm talking about. And they're going to spend billions of dollars on rebuilding it, and it's going to be the largest plant of its kind in the world, I believe, actually in the world, and it's going to be great. So we really fulfilled that promise to Homer City, but it's to Pennsylvania basically. I won Pennsylvania, and very conclusively won Pennsylvania. So I owe them a big debt of gratitude. But thank you for bringing that up. We raised 92. It's actually going over 100. So it'll be over $100 billion to be invested in Pennsylvania. It was Pennsylvania Energy Project. So we had, everybody was there. Larry Fink was there. I mean, everybody was there and done a great job. The senator did a great job. And we were very proud. That was a great meeting yesterday. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, for each of you, so for the Crown Prince, are you planning on taking any of the Patriot missiles that you're going to receive from the United States and divert those to help Ukraine?
We have no current plans, as we have an operational requirement inside Bahrain to keep them there for the present time at least.
He's got plenty of them too.
And Mr. President, on the fentanyl bill,
They're wonderful. They're wonderful pieces of kit.
They work very well.
American technology is the best.
Yep.
and on the fentanyl bill that you're
That's
signing.
maybe the most important part of this. He has his choice of everything, and we make the best military equipment by far in the world.
None.
There's nothing close, right?
Bar none.
Yeah. Thank you.
And on the fentanyl bill that you're signing today, do you hope that that's going to restart law enforcement cooperation with China on getting the fentanyl?
Yeah, I think China's been helping out. I mean, it's been a terrible situation for many years with fentanyl, but since I came here, we're talking to them, and they're making big steps. They're also, as you know, being penalized. You know that, right? They're being penalized with tariffs because of the fentanyl, but they want to do something. We'll see what happens.
Mr. President.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. An American from Tampa was beaten to death, was killed by Israeli settlers in the West Bank. His family has been calling on you to help prosecute his killers. Are you going to do that as an American from Tampa?
Yeah, your first sentence is really, go ahead.
An American citizen from Tampa, Florida, has been killed in the West Bank. His family has been asking you to prosecute him. Are you going to help?
You know about
Yeah,
this.
well, so first of all, have you seen yesterday, Ambassador Huckabee has asked the Israelis to conduct an investigation. We want to get all the information about who was involved. We protect all American citizens anywhere in the world, especially if they're unjustly murdered or killed. So we're gathering more information, but I hope you saw yesterday Ambassador Huckabee in Israel asked the Israeli authorities to produce an investigation and concrete information about who was responsible for his murder.
They're reporting that tomorrow. We have a meeting on it. They're going to be reporting that to me. Yeah.
Do you think that the Gulf area now is more secure, and do you believe that a negotiation with Iran is necessary at this stage?
Well, I definitely believe that the volatility of the situation has been reduced, and we didn't know where it was going to go on the Sunday. We were very glad when we found out on the Monday. Let me put it that way. And should the Iranians want to negotiate, I believe the ball's in their court. That is the true reality of where we stand today. They are the ones that stand to benefit from a negotiation.
And they do. They want to negotiate. They want to negotiate badly. We're in no rush because, we said we could have made a deal. They should have made a deal. And then we bombed the hell out of their various places. We're in no rush, but if they want to negotiate, we're here. Yeah.
Mr. President, I know you want to move past all this intrigue over the Epstein files, but I do want to ask you to clarify something you said this morning. You said this was all a hoax. Has your attorney
It's a big hoax.
told you this was a hoax? What evidence?
No, it's not the Attorney General. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier. That turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes. They're bad for policy. They're bad for picking candidates that can get elected. Like in New York, we have a communist running. He may get elected too, actually, but he'll destroy the city. No, it's I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements, we've had a great gentleman yesterday, as you know, went on CNBC and he made the statement that Trump may go down as the greatest president of all in the United States. And instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including the Middle East. I mean, you see it. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, we're listening in on President Trump in the Oval Office with the leader of Bahrain, where, of course, the ongoing conflict between Iran and Israel is a major topic of discussion. The president sounding positive on that front, though, suggesting that Iran will come to the table and suggesting, as you just now heard, that there have been some positive outcomes in the Middle East that are successes. But, of course, President, getting asked about the continued fallout from the Epstein files, President Trump suggesting it's a hoax, a la the Steele dossier. We'll talk more about that a little bit later in the show with some constituents in my home district where I grew up, where the Representative Morgan Griffiths is one of those Republicans who voted against releasing the Epstein files. But in the meantime, we do have some great breaking news today. Representative Andy Harris of North Carolina and Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee just introduced legislation today to revoke the congressional charter of the nation's largest teachers union, the NEA. The news comes on the heels of yesterday's press conference on Capitol Hill. We covered right here on Lindell TV exclusively, where parents targeted by the Biden DOJ shared their stories and called for action from both Congress and President Trump. Action that includes an executive order from President Trump as laid out by America's mom, Sharona Bishop, talking to her own Allison Steinberg yesterday at the Capitol. Listen.
We are leaning on President Trump to issue an executive order immediately to recover what's been lost to these families. There's so much documentation, those who, it's very evident who has been a victim and who has not. And also to tap the DOJ and the FBI to start releasing the footage of the raids at these homes. That footage has been withheld for years now because it would shock the conscience of the American people to see your own government literally going after suburban mothers, using battering rams on their doors, arresting them outside, harassing their children. This is not a part of America that people believe actually exists, and we are definitely here to expose it today.
Now, our sources tell us here at The Absolute Truth that in a meeting this morning at the White House, President Trump received a dossier describing in detail the harassment that parents suffered at the hands of the Biden regime, and how he could provide restitution and accountability. Now, doing so at this time would be a huge win for President Trump, who could use a positive boost with the base following the fallout of the Epstein files. So the timing is perfect. Also, President Trump has been given a mandate to reform education, particularly the education department, which the United States Supreme Court has affirmed. Essentially, what everyone outside of Washington, D.C. knew was common sense, that President Trump, the president of the United States of America, can fire people who work for him. In this case, the president can fire employees at the Department of Miseducation. This comes after months of caterwauling from the mostly leftist Department of Education, and their allies in Congress went to work trying to stop the president from enacting his promised cuts on the department. Now, sensing the looming demise, the NEA is now in full meltdown mode.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Say the words. Say the words. Say them. Say them out loud. Say them again.
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of people you want educating your children. In 1979, one of the single worst years in American history, the U.S. Department of Education was created by one of the single worst American presidents, Jimmy Carter. The goal supposedly was to ensure the standardization of education for the country's youth. Now, regardless of region, economic status, or racial background, the goal was supposedly to improve test scores, enhance reading, writing, science, and math knowledge, and ensure future generations of American youth would always be competitive. Corey DeAngelis of the American Culture Project recently told John Stossel none of the above has been achieved.
It's not doing any of those things.
Corey DeAngelis studies education policy.
The department was created with the express purpose to close achievement gaps and to improve student outcomes. And the outcomes aren't getting any better, they're getting worse.
Joining us now is Mark Bauerlein. He's an expert in education policy, and he's also a member of the board of New College in Florida, which has experienced a complete turnaround since Governor DeSantis appointed he and others to the board. And ironically, Mark, you were actually supposed to be working for Trump's Department of Education, but suffice it to say, that's not going to happen now, as there's just going to be a lot of firings probably. So you might be a little bit conflicted about this news from the Supreme Court. What do you make of the Supreme Court's decision first off before we get to the others?
No, I'm most happy about what the court has been saying. And you said a moment ago, Emerald, that this is sort of just a matter of common sense. And that's how it strikes people outside the federal government. I mean, gigantic organizations, they hire a lot more employees. Sometimes they let employees go. This is just the normal run of events. And that is the way in which most Americans see this. They see this parade of drama queens leaving the Department of Ed building, carrying their boxes, hugs, tears, signs on the wall saying, "We honor your service. You will not be forgotten," and so on. And the rest of us just roll our eyes. We know, again, these things happen all the time. And the meltdown that you showed a moment ago by the NEA, the Education Association, if you want to build up Trump's popularity, just keep putting these people at the microphone. Just put them on camera. They really don't understand that their message doesn't fly with most of the American voters. I mean, Donald Trump did win in spite of a mammoth assault on him for the preceding 4 years. And about the NEA losing its charter, Emerald, again, this is another common sense thing. The Education Association, the American Federation of Teachers, the Modern Language Association, those are supposed to be scholarly guilds. They operate on intellectual and educational values. They're not supposed to be partisan political entities. The shrieking of diversity, equity, and inclusion, that's a political statement, of course. And if you're going to become a partisan political organization, then of course the federal government, when the other side gets in, is going to disengage from you. What in the world did you expect? I think these are just temper tantrums. These are little kids who've had their toys taken away, and they think that they got their toys all by themselves in the first place. So I think that all of this is a very good thing. It would not if we saw reading and math scores going up and American workers going into workplaces amazingly career ready, that we are producing more engineers and mathematicians and physicists and chemists who are Americans instead of all the foreign-born students getting PhDs in those fields. If we had signs of success, then maybe you and I would have to keep our mouths shut about the Department of Education. But look, you guys are captains of the ship. You know, this is the Titanic. How you doing?
Well, let me ask you, Mark, what kind of lasting effect will Trump's action have? Often we see, especially with executive action, once there's a change in administration, the lights are just turned back on. With the dismantling of the Department of Education, how permanent will this be given a change in power, if and when there is a change in power? And what effect will this really have on the very, very influential and powerful teachers' unions?
Well, as you said, you pull money out, a Democrat administration can just put money back in, and things will go on as before. So the burden is then on Congress. If the Department of Education is partly a statutory thing established, then only Congress ultimately can change that. And so this is a matter of political will, of political warfare, which is to say, are you going to demonstrate to Republicans in Congress that if you don't pursue Donald Trump's agenda legislatively, not just for these 4 years of budget cuts and employee cuts, you're going to suffer. You're going to lose. They do their focus groups. They have their polling all the time. And so I think that the popular case needs to be made to these Republicans in Congress. You're going to be punished. I mean, when Lisa Murkowski defends PBS and NPR, as she did, I think, yesterday, we need Alaska voter. We need to show you have just done something that is going to harm you politically. These people want very much to hold on to their seats. The life of a senator is, luxury. You're surrounded by your posse who takes care of everything for you. Every 5 minutes, you're being told how great you are. It's good to be the senator, we'll say. And they don't want to lose that. They've got an iron grip on that chair. They never want to let go. Well, let's force them to let go.
Yeah. Look, this is a winning issue for both Congress, for Republicans in Congress and Trump. This is actually an easy for them. This should be an easy win. I think if Trump also provides restitution or restores the parents that went to school board meetings and fought those COVID restrictions and then fought the wokeism in schools, this would be a major bump for him in a time that he needs it, because I think across the board, most Americans do appreciate common sense, and this would be just an example of the president employing common sense and trying to help America's students. Thank you so much, Mark Barreline. It's always good to see you.
Thank you.
Well, we just heard the president's latest comments about the Epstein files, calling them a Democrat hoax. But that doesn't seem to be how his base or the average American voter feels. We'll discuss that after the break.
Swollen limbs, joint pain, inflammation, skin aging, and cognitive decline. These are just a few of the awful side effects that you can experience due to poor blood circulation. And popping ibuprofen is not a solution to the pain. It's only temporary relief, and it's only masking the true problem, which is inflammation. Researchers are saying to add this Antarctic super nutrient to your diet. I'm talking about omega-3 fatty acids, but not just any form of omegas. These particular omega-3 fatty acids are sourced from wild-caught krill. Has been shown to support healthy blood pressure, circulation, brain health, as well as reduce inflammation, swelling, and joint pain. For a limited time, you can grab Native Path Antarctic Krill Oil for up to 66% off plus free shipping. Just go to getkrill.com/Lindell right now to get your special offer.
I'm so upset about how it's been handled.
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I really don't. And the credible information's been given. Don't forget, we went through years of the Mueller witch hunt and all of the different things, the Steele dossier, which was all fake. All that information was fake. But I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think, well, really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going.
President Donald Trump really wants us to stop talking about the Epstein files. But this comes after both he and so many prominent people around him spent the last decade talking about Jeffrey Epstein, his political ties, and his misdeeds with underage girls. The narrative has flipped all of a sudden. Republicans such as this guy, Representative Morgan Griffiths, who represents Virginia's 9th congressional district, have voted to prevent the release of the Epstein files. Now, meanwhile, Democrats are demanding that they be released.
The Epstein files concern issues of abuse of women and abuse of children. You know, as the chair of the Democratic Women's Caucus, you often see me raising issues of we need to address this. And not only that, but Republicans and the MAGA world have said they want to know about this. Your constituents want to know. So the question is, why are they not just releasing them? And I think it's a simple thing to do. And you're going to be asked to vote whether you require the release. That's going to be a simple vote. Will you require the release? Is there anything that needs to be hidden? If there isn't, then just release the files. Silence those who would question it. So every Republican on this committee should be able to easily vote yes.
And from her cell in the minimum security prison in Tallahassee, Florida, Epstein's co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, who was also found guilty of human trafficking, to no one, I guess, has stated her willingness to testify under oath before a congressional committee in which she would detail all of Epstein's crimes and who among the elite helped him commit those crimes. The Republicans have blocked her request to testify on the Hill. Meanwhile, prominent MAGA influencers such as Charlie Kirk, who was one of the leading voices calling for answers about the Epstein files as late as the past weekend, has made a drastic reversal after he received the call.
Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done, solve it, balls in their hands. I've said plenty this last weekend. So if you guys want to see my commentary on it, that's fine.
The Trump supporting right has gone from trust no one to trust the government in a shorter amount of time than it took for President Trump to sign off on the COVID-19 jabs during his first term. Join us now as the host of the Appalachian podcast, Billy Riddle and Chris Slate. I'm so excited to have you guys. Maybe not a topic we would love to be just, we wish we weren't having this conversation, let's be honest. But I'm so glad you're here because we're all fellow Appalachians. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Now, I was just going to say, I particularly want to ask you all because no one's really asking, people in, say, the hills of Virginia, how they feel about this. And it's a huge part of the president's base. And I was sort of surprised to see that the representative, and this is the district I grew up in, Morgan Griffiths, who represents the district, voted against releasing these files.
Yeah, it's kind of disturbing. On one hand, I've been really impressed by the outpouring that people have sort of pushed back against this. But in the same token, I'm really disappointed with our leaders to see how they're handling this, especially from Appalachia, and not just Morgan Griffith. Virginia Fox, who's the chairwoman there, is also from Appalachia, right in the heart of Appalachia, representing Mount Airy, northwestern North Carolina. So seeing Appalachian politicians that we've elected and who have a mandate to, I would think, to uphold at least basic ethics, especially in regarding pedophiles and children, you really think they would take a different tact.
Billy, why do people, President Trump, and, I'll say he's done a lot of great things. I'm really surprised about this turn on the Epstein files. President Trump seems to not understand why regular people would care. He's boring. He says it's boring. It's a hoax. But why do people in, say, Appalachia care about the files?
Well, I think for one is because he campaigned so hard on it. The last 8 years have been so tumultuous, and even for the Appalachian region, going back decades and decades, we're used to getting our heads peed on and told it's raining. And we kind of got fed up with it. We started believing that, hey, look, now we've got a guy that's speaking to us. We've got somebody that's not in the Democrat Progressive Party that pretends he cares about the coal miners and the truck drivers, and we all lined up and voted for him. You could probably look at Morgan Griffith's district, and with the exception of a couple college towns in the New River Valley, his entire electoral map is red. We believed in this, and Trump. The Appalachian people are very liberty-minded. We have a strong history of rebellion, going back to the Prohibition days, the coal mining wars, even back to Athens, Tennessee. We don't put up with a lot of nonsense. And it seems like we're just getting the wool pulled over our eyes once again, and we're frankly fed up with it. So now we're starting to speak out, and we're starting to let them know, hey, look, we're liberty-minded people. And a lot of people around here decided to vote for Trump that came over from the libertarian mindset. I know I voted libertarian in the last couple of elections, and Trump was the best option of the three. Chip will tell you, Mike Tremont was the vice presidential candidate in the last election. He's coming on our show this coming week. He's a friend of ours, and I could not stomach pulling the lever for the Libertarian Party this year. That's how terrible their candidate was. So we went Trump, and we were promised things, and we're not seeing them through right now.
And I feel like if it's so boring, why not just release it? I understand that you had to protect some victims' names, but we've now heard from enough of the victims saying that they feel further victimized in the lack of transparency. If it's so boring, Chris, why not just release it?
Well, and not only is it, he calls it boring, but he'll call his base stupid. The people that, are saying this, he's supporting this, he's calling them stupid. And so it's questionable when not only is he doubling down, he's, quadrupling down every day. It seems there's a new statement about it. And it's really curious. The base has been right there with him up to this point. And so it's interesting that this is the issue that seems to have triggered it.
I want to know in general, just as far as Morgan Griffith, how do you generally feel about him? How good is he at representing, say, the Trump base? Because they did, that region largely went for President Trump.
I don't know. I'm not particularly familiar with him. A few years ago, we had our lines redrawn. So until this most recent election, I believe, as far as we are here in Franklin County, we had Bob Good just south of Lynchburg, and Bob Good,
which is my district.
Yeah, he had a phenomenal voting record as far as I'm concerned, because, I kind of base a lot of mine on who votes along the lines with Thomas Massey, who's also another phenomenal Appalachian congressman. And Bob Good kind of got the runaround, and something happened in the primary, and, they redrew, and here we have with Morgan Griffith. I don't know too often many people who were satisfied with him. It seems like just a status quo with him. He's just another suit filling a vacancy, and no different than anything we've had before. He doesn't stick out, he doesn't stand out, and he doesn't really do anything that moves the needle.
Well, and I can say he has a lot of family from Patrick County, which is where I'm from, there in Claude, and he's been representing our district for a consistent period of time. Honestly, I've never really had a problem with him. He's been a conservative voice and vote. He's always supported gun rights. So this was curious and unfortunate from our perspective. I would like to have seen better on this vote.
Yeah, so you pointed out a couple of good members of Congress that we've had. Bob Good is out now. He, having endorsed DeSantis and losing Trump's endorsement, had a major effect in the district that I'm in. And that was really he also didn't run a great campaign. But there's another, I would say, mountain man, and that's Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee, who's not letting the issue go. He has kind of broken ranks with the Republican conference on this. He is often in line with Congressman Thomas Massey, though, of Kentucky. He is calling for the release of the files, as well as Ghislaine Maxwell to testify before Congress, which she is offering to do. I think would be great. I don't know if we have that soundbite, but if we do, let me know, and I'd love to play it, because I do think
should there be an investigation or a special counsel investigation?
I don't know. I'm not an attorney. I just find them guilty and hang them publicly. I mean, that's not over the top either. I'm over it. It disgusts me. I'm big on clarity and transparency, and you know, that's good reason people don't trust government, either party.
Yeah, I think one thing, I think probably what gets at the heart of this, and you both of us can agree, all of us can agree, because I mean, I'm from the stock in Appalachia of the Scotch Irish that were running from the British, right? So the last thing we're going to do is trust government. And this predates the Hillary Clinton and the Obama eras, okay? We're the OGs of distrusting the government. So it's a hard pill to swallow when you're telling us to trust the government, right?
100%. You know, I mentioned Patrick County. The adjacent county is Henry County. So you've got Patrick Henry just ingrained where we are. So you're exactly right. I think we're the front lines of fundamentally not trusting government. And I think, you know, the general populace are kind of catching up and seeing that, you know, we've been right. You should always treat government with some caution going in.
And I don't think we need to.
Go ahead.
I would say I don't think we need to pretend like this is something new either. I mean, blackmail goes back to the days where the FBI was started. We all are pretty well aware that, well, allegedly, I guess, that's what Hoover used to get his power. The Playboy Mansion back in the 70s was a big honeypot, because back then the most important thing you could do is cheat on your wife. But now, you know, they got to take it a step further for the blackmail operations. And one of our other co-hosts, Stuart Angel, he's a phenomenal researcher. And we talked about this a lot last night on our show that you can catch at AppalachianPodcast.org. And he went into great detail, you know, that, you know, Epstein's paid out, I think, over $800 million in lawsuits and settlements for some of these victims. And he had multiple properties across the country. This is nothing new. So if there are victims that have been paid, then there's obviously victims out here. So I don't understand the rhetoric now of why should we just shut up and keep it quiet. No, the Pandora's box has been opened, and we got to see this to the end.
Yeah, we do. When people ask me how I got the way I am, I said, well, I grew up in the holler in Appalachia, and we believe in the truth, and we don't really back down. So it's nice to finally get a talk with both of you. Again, if you want to catch their podcast, it's AppalachianPodcast.org, correct? And you can follow them on X at Get On Tap, right? Get On Tap. I love it. You know how I started following you is that I came across the beautiful pictures you share almost daily of Appalachia. And it was a good mind dump for me, you know, a little positive wash of my feed. And then I started, you know, listening and watching, and it was really great to connect with you all. And I think it's good to give the perspective, because so much in these DC circles and in these political shows, we're still in the bubble of DC, right? We don't talk about how real Americans feel about these issues. And I think it's important to highlight why they care, because President Trump has to understand that. He has to understand why they care. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Up next, it's confirmed. We have confirmed that FDA Administrator Marty Makary went behind RFK Jr.'s back while he was on vacation to give that Moderna jab approval for kids. We have the full story after the break.
Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds, 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at nirvantahealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to nirvantahealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live well naturally. With everybody talking about making America healthy again, I thought today'd be a great day to talk to all my fellow patriots about the importance of making your homes healthy again. Well, we have proudly partnered with airwaterhealing.com and their revolutionary whole home air purification system. The V3 from Air Water Healing does 3,000 square feet of purification. It eliminates dust, mold, viruses, and odors. But here's the part I love. They require no filters to ever be changed and virtually no maintenance. Whether you suffer from asthma, allergies, seasonal bronchitis, or just want to protect your family from the flu or even greater threats, don't wait to get your V3 from airwaterhealing.com today. Use code Lindell for 20% off in savings and free shipping. That's promo code Lindell at airwaterhealing.com.
President Donald Trump's Centers for Disease Control claims that for the year 2024-2025, COVID-19 vaccination is effective in preventing hospitalizations and critical outcomes from COVID-19 in adults. But look, we know that's not true. We've laid out all the evidence right here on The Absolute Truth for years, which proves that the CDC couldn't be more wrong. It's a bioweapon. And as we showed you yesterday, James O'Keefe did another dynamite undercover investigation, which resulted in an executive from Johnson & Johnson admitting that the government kind of made a deal with the pharmaceutical companies and pressured the pharmaceutical companies, in essence, because we're not going to say no to the government. That doesn't sound like a safe and effective vaccine. That sounds like arm twisting to get a very dangerous product into the bodies of most Americans. And is that same kind of arm twisting going on? Because we definitely have questions about the recent approval for the Moderna's COVID vaccine jab from FDA Administrator Marty Makary, who approved the jabs for children, despite all the evidence and years of an EUA proving that it's a really bad idea. He did it while HHS Secretary RFK Jr. was on vacation in Greece. Sources have confirmed to us that this was done behind the HHS Secretary's back. Obviously, Makary is going by what the CDC says. We would love to ask him lots of questions about this, especially as more and more victims come forward, as they did yesterday during Ron Johnson's Senate committee hearing on vaccine injuries, where this one lady described the grueling details of her vaccine injury and others that she saw to our own Allison Steinberg.
So took 2 Moderna shots, and I've got a lesion on the brain. I've had 3 detached retinas, chronic tinnitus, and I'm still suffering to this day. So, and it's just not stopping. My mom died of 4 shots of Moderna, and I lost my job in healthcare at Enloe Medical Center in Chico because they wanted me to take a booster after everything I went through. And I worked at the mass vaccination clinics in Chico. Literally, I raised my hand, I volunteered, and I helped pass out 200 syringes an hour to the nurses in Chico. And my biggest kind of red pill moment, Chico State sent in their track team to get their vaccinations to run track, kids in the chair, shots in the arm, and he's on the floor with a full-on seizure.
This is terrible. We're now joined by biotech analyst and author of the Kingston Report on Substack, Karen Kingston. Karen, at this point, remember we were going to give them time, we were going to give them time, we were going to give them time, but at this point we can say, okay, this is bad. It's getting to be a code red. We're glad they're, addressing dyes in food, great. But that's not the single biggest threat to us right now, especially as they approve these vaccines, these bioweapons for children that they say are immunocompromised. And look, you could probably make the case that 50% of America's kids today has some kind of pre-existing condition. Karen, your thoughts?
I agree with you, Emerald. I mean, as far as HHS's priority to public health, the number one threat to public health isn't red dye or blue dye in our cereals. It is these mRNA COVID-19 injections. And, it's news to me that you just informed me that it was confirmed that Marty Macri went behind Secretary Kennedy's back and just reactively approved the COVID-19 mRNA shots for children, quote unquote, at risk for Moderna as young as 6 months old. And, that there's no excuse for that. I mean, that is it's an atrocity is what it is. I didn't study the Moderna documents as much as I studied Pfizer, because Pfizer was the giant, but it's a very similar product. They have the same dangers. And, Pfizer wrote in their FDA documents that it would be statistically impossible to design a clinical trial that could prove that their shots were as safe and effective as a child's natural immune system to fight, what we're calling this SARS-CoV-2, this biosynthetic pathogen. So they put in writing that the benefits can outweigh the risks. So Pfizer put that in writing, and then O'Keefe Media confirmed with a spokesperson from HHS that even under emergency use authorization, the pharmaceutical companies have to make sure that the benefits outweigh the risks. That's the definition of safety. So why Macri went behind RFK Jr.'s back and did a knee-jerk reaction to get it approved is, it's very suspicious. It's very suspect. It doesn't make sense. It reminds me when Peter Marks, when he was the director of CBER, potentially went behind Secretary Azar's back and just forced through the approval it was August 23rd, 2021 for Pfizer shots so that Biden could get his mandates, right? So we're in very interesting and strange times, and I can't say I can understand what's going through these leaders' minds, what's in their hearts. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, let's just for keeping score. Let's look at exactly where we find ourselves today. Number one, the Trump CDC says that the COVID-19 vaccines are totally safe and effective. 2, they have went ahead and recommended them for pregnant women. 3, they have now given approval after it was operating under an EUA for years related to, children 6 months to 12. Macri has given approval for the Moderna vaccine for kids.
Mm-hmm.
These are not, they did not have to do these things. They didn't have to approve the vaccine. They could have, we would still been upset if they just left it on an EUA. And I do know that Macri was asked about the ongoing EUA, and it was only, and when we were going to pull that, when the HHS was going to pull that. And then it was only a matter of days later that he gives full approval.
Well, he gave full approval. You had told me that HHS watches our reporting, and I had said, with the pediatricians have no business recommending an emergency use product, right? And later that day, the FDA approved it. They created they're rewriting the laws and regulations. They're creating a hornet's nest, because even though the FDA approved it, so now that it's approved, the pediatrician's like, okay, well, we can recommend it. Well, technically, no, because it's still, even though this isn't lawful, the HHS is still designating FDA-approved mRNA shots for COVID under emergency use. So the pediatrician still can't stray from the CDC guidance. So it's chaotic. It doesn't make sense, and it's what what you and I talked about a few weeks ago, which is it doesn't seem like the men that we elected to put into power are calling the shots. It seems that this is being run by the military and intelligence agencies and contractors. And I think, keeping score, number 4, now a J&J scientist comes forward and says, we're not going to say no to the government. In essence, the government said, you guys got to fix this, right? You've got to come up with a solution.
Dr. Jack Cruz consistently says that it's the DOD running this. And I think a good case, and I think you raised this in a recent Substack, is DARPA's role in a lot of this, and that will get you suppressed on Twitter still. And asking the question, why did DARPA classify COVID, prior to having the jabs, COVID as a bioweapon back in 2005?
Yeah, and so in HHS and their Code of Federal Regulations up until 2021, the SARS-CoV-2 pathogen was considered a biological threat. It was classified that you could not tinker with it. You couldn't use it for anything up until 2021, after the shots were rolled out. This was brought to my attention when I watched an interview with Dr. David Martin. So, it's always been, the SARS-CoV-2 has always been categorized as a biological threat. And, as I've pointed out in many of my Substacks, what we're calling mRNA, which are these biosynthetic pathogens that can cause disease, disabilities, sterility, and death, right? Because they use the lipid nanoparticle technology along with gene editing technology. These were always dual use products, right? You can look at the diffuse pitch from EcoHealth Alliance to DARPA. The point was to create what they called an aerosolized bat vaccine, is what we call a pandemic and a virus. Right. So, and what we call a biological, and some of their patents would, what's the difference between a biological weapon or a vaccine? Depends on who you're talking to, right? That's pretty much what it says in some of these government patents. So, as I mentioned many times, is that what we call mRNA, lipid nanoparticle gene editing technology, these are so toxic. There's actually an annual conference called LNP's Toxicity and Immunogenicity. Immunogenicity is when your immune system responds in a way that can be lethal, right? They have an annual conference on this since the COVID shots rolled out. So these products were always dual use. They were developed as bioweapons, but now we're calling them therapies. And venture capitalists traditionally, would not invest in these because they didn't see the consumer application. So DARPA had to lead it. And one of the things I wrote in my recent Substack was Johnson & Johnson Development Corp is the division of J&J that is a venture capital firm, right? They were one of the, I assume they still are, they were one of the leading venture capital firms in corporate pharma. And they were a client of mine in 2010, 2011. And I have no more insights other than this. I only met with them about once a quarter in person with the team. And they basically did everything from angel rounds to Series A, B, C to mergers and acquisitions. They worked with other organizations in J&J and outside J&J to create the entire pipeline for the company. And what I found odd was sometimes I'd be in these meetings and the meetings would get interrupted because at the time, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton would call to speak to the president of Johnson & Johnson Development Corp. Again, this division did the investing, whether it was angel rounds, Series A, B, C, or mergers and acquisition, to create the pipeline from J&J. So to me, it looks like the government, whether it's DARPA, whether it is In-Q-Tel, which is the CIA's venture capital firm, probably early on were working with corporate venture capital firms to say, hey, we need you to invest, come along with this. Because if you had a corporate venture capital firm invest in a product or a technology, there was more likely that smaller investors would also get on board because they're like, well, one of two things are going to happen. Either they know it's a sure thing, or they're, more than likely they'll bring it into their portfolio. So there'd be a decent exit strategy, a return on investment. So it looks like the whole thing is being run by the intelligence.
It looks really bad when you have James O'Keefe dropping a report like that. Allison Steinberg going to the vaccine hearing yesterday and hearing that firsthand story from what I would consider now a whistleblower, because the lady telling Allison what happened to her had worked in a mass vaccination clinic. So she's even what I would say is a whistleblower. The evidence is now so undeniable and is so abundant for them to continue down this path. It's just particularly egregious. Karen Kingston, thank you so much for continuing to do the reporting you do. We got to keep asking the questions. We have to keep asking the questions and asking for accountability. I thought we would see something different from this by this point. I didn't really expect us to be here. I had so much hope with Bobby taking HHS, but.
Well, hopefully, if we continue to speak up loudly, call for the shots to be recalled, they will. I mean, there was hope with the Dr. Kirk Moore case being dropped, by
That's
the
true.
DOJ.
Well,
Yeah,
that was based on public pressure. It was a public pressure campaign that resulted in the action from the DOJ. So there you go. Thank you, Karen Kingston. Thank you for bringing her back around to a positive point and a bright spot. We needed that. Thank you. And that was big. And kudos to Pam Bondi and the DOJ for hearing the cries of the public and dismissing that case against Dr. Moore. That was huge. That was huge. And we hope to see more in that way of action. Thank you so much, Karen Kingston. Always good to see you.
Thank you.
They call it the molecule of the fountain of youth. It's known to scientists as nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, or more easily to say, okay, NAD+. According to Nature, a prominent scientific journal, NAD+, quote, metabolites function as critical regulators to maintain physiologic processes, enabling the plastic cells to adapt to environmental changes. And out of order, NAD+ metabolism disturbs the physiological functions, resulting in diseases, including metabolic diseases, includes cancer, aging, and neurodegeneration disorder. It's a mouthful. Our next guest, David McCary. He's the pharmacist for our friends at All Family Pharmacy. Thinks it might be one of the keys for getting humans back to healthy living. As you know, all of us in the modern world lead very unnatural lives for the most part. Between our technology to the artificial food we eat, all these things have a negative, unseen impact on our physiology. And because of that, our bodies are in metabolic dysregulation. In other words, more easily put, we're all out of whack, but we're hoping that our friends at All Family Pharmacy can fix that. It's good to see you, David. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me again. I appreciate that.
I asked you specifically to come back. Remember, we hit on it a little bit when I saw it on your website last week. I have a friend who a couple weeks ago was just raving about NAD+ to me, especially as a female, middle-aged, I can say that now, as a middle-aged woman. Tell us the benefits and why more people should consider using it.
Okay. Well, I first want to say you did a great job with your pronunciation. For a moment there, I thought you may have your doctorate degree. So you did an excellent job.
Wow, thank you.
And we do want to
I used to host a science show, so I did learn a little bit during that. I used to cover science and tech.
Well, you did an excellent job. We do want to keep it on a positive note from your previous individual that you had. So let's continue on that wonderful positive feeling here. So NAD+, this is nothing new. However, the publicity and the discussion right now is just overwhelming. This is something natural that's already in your body, but most people aren't aware of it. And they're not sure how it works and the benefits from it. So now that we are, promoting this, finding more research with it, hearing the positive results, more people are actually interested and want to know more about it. So basically what it does, it helps to build the cells in your body. As you know, your body consists of cells from all different organs, your tissues, everything. And unfortunately, as we get older, as we age, which is a natural process, certain things begin to die off. They're not as healthy as they should be when we're younger. So this particular NAD+ also helps to regenerate those cells into healthier, more converting enzymes into your body and to allowing to have your body have other positive functions such as energy, better metabolism, and so many other different positive things that can go on by adding additional NAD plus to what your body used to be making that not so much as we get older.
And okay, so what do you recommend it for all people? Is it sort of if you're a certain age group? Who do you recommend consider supplementing with NAD plus?
Okay, so it is used for all ages, and the reason why I say that, of course, we think of it right away for elderly people because of the fact that we're losing our cells, aren't regenerating, they're not as healthy as the cells as they used to be, and they kind of need that boost, if you will. However, younger people will still benefit it from it as well, because as we know, younger people, they're not necessarily eating right. They're not necessarily getting the, amount of recommended sleep that they need. They just have so many different things going on to be able to focus. They take additional medications to help out with their alertness and focus. This will help contribute that. And if you start younger, understand the concept, it's going to help you to age better. So the concept of the NAD plus is the aging process. That's the concept you want to keep in mind with this for both younger and elderly. So if you're starting to take care of yourself and doing things at a younger age, you're going to age better then and not as quickly as you would with the aging process.
Okay. I'm going to try it out. My friend has raved about it so much. She says it's completely, she too is a middle-aged woman. And she says it's really helped her with a lot of the issues and particularly fatigue that she started to notice over the last year. So I will report back on my thoughts on it. How long do you give it to really start seeing some kind of benefit? Sometimes people quit things too soon.
Well, like a lot of medications or most medications, a lot of it is individualized. So what you may take, what I may take, you may see different results depending on how quickly your body absorbs it, adapts to it, and responds to it. That's normal with any medication. The good news is with this is it does react quite quickly. You may know it even after the first or second dose. You're going to feel a little bit better that day, almost as if you had a great night's sleep and you wake up the next day feeling so energized and ready to conquer the world. So you will notice it. But obviously, as you take it, week after week, month after month, you're going to see it more on a consistent basis. You're not just going to wake up only one day a week or one day a month like you currently do, feeling energized and all full of vinegar. Vigor and pep, you may, notice it a lot quicker on a regular basis after taking the NAD plus.
All right. Okay. Now I've got some parameters. I am going to try it out. If you're interested, you also have a whole other, you all have such a breadth of prescriptions, but also supplements available at allfamilypharmacy.com. And I understand when they use the Lindell promo code, and you can share the specific one we have now, you also get other benefits, correct? Or at least a discount.
Yes. And just so I could mention for the discount, everything can be found on allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. And that will get you to the site, and that will take care of any of your needs on all the different medications that we offer, obviously including the NAD plus as well. And also
is it Lindell? Is that Lindell or RSBN? Lindell?
No, I'm sorry. allfamilypharmacy.com with the /Lindell. Correct. Thank you. Thank you. I just was notified that it actually is with Lindell. Thank you for that correction.
That's okay. allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. I'll be interested to see how it benefits me. Again, my friend just raves about it. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad it's easy access with All Family Pharmacy. Thank you so much for joining us again, David. As you promised you would, to give me the details on NAD plus. We'll check in with you again soon.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
And that does it for us right now. I also urge you to go to mypillow.com, use your promo code TRUTH, because that's how we're able to bring you the truth every single day. Or you can call the 800 number 944-5396. Allison Steinberg is next live at the White House with all the big moments from Trump's bilateral meeting earlier today. Plus more. DC Live is next.